Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Fancy A Kickabout Podcast with me, Liam Sterling.
And me, Ash Marshall.
And today we are joined by a very special guest. We've got Tottenham fan Josh Downs with us. So the main focus of today's episode is more going to be focusing on the North London derby at the weekend. But we do want to do a little quick brush over of the results from the weekend. So obviously we started off on Friday, Newcastle versus Villa. Decent game, 1-1 draw. I think it was a better result for Newcastle rather than Villa. I think I'll be frustrated with that. But again, I don't know what you boys think. Nice little climber for Newcastle to get themselves away from the relegation zone. Some of the ones to pick out from, obviously City beating Fulham, who everyone expected that one. There's not much of a difference there. Burnley, Everton, a decent result for Burnley. Again, like we say, similar stuff with Newcastle climbing their way out of the relegation zone. So it's big stuff. One of the big ones, I think Brighton beating Southampton was a great result for them. West Ham losing to United. It's a tough game for them. I think United, again, they're taking that second spot probably to their own now. But of course, the main talking point, North London derby, Spurs losing 2-1. I know Ash is pretty happy about it. Josh don't look so impressed. But what were your boys' thoughts on the game? I'll start with you, Ash. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, well, to be honest, like the build-up for the whole week, for me, I was absolutely bricking it. I mean, I saw Tottenham's result. I think it was against Palace. You just see Kane's wonder goal and the way that we played against Burnley. But I think the main turning point for me was our result on Thursday night against Olympiacos to go to Athens and win 3-1 in style was a big statement from Arteta as well. So I know there was a lot of, I was quite nervous. Was we going to turn it around quick enough to fly back from Greece to get back into England, have a training session and then train, but then play, sorry. But, Jose Mourinho was giving it the big one before the game, saying, look, we done that when we played them the first time this season and you beat us 2-0. So I'll be honest, I was not looking forward to it at all, despite being at home. I don't know what your thoughts were, Josh, like the week before the game.
Personally, I mean, it's probably the most confident I've ever been in North London derby in the last few years, to be honest. Obviously, back to playing the attacking football we kind of wanted to see for a while now. I just thought it was going to be, obviously, going to the Emirates and Arsenal, it's always going to be a difficult game, but it's one of those ones, obviously, the form we've kind of been in, the goals been scoring, getting Bale back into a bit of form, having obviously Reguilon back. It seemed like it was going to be a good day for us, but it just didn't start to turn up, did we?
I think that's what I think as a neutral, watching it, like going into the game, I did fully expect Spurs to probably come away with the 3 points from that one. But I think it's a strange one. Arsenal controlled the game quite well, and obviously that goal from Lamela was just. I don't even know how to put it into words. I sat there and literally my jaw hit the floor. I just couldn't believe it. It was just one of them ones where it was just out of nowhere. It was an incredible goal, but get himself sent off at the end of the game, it was the most Lamela thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, I wasn't hopeful. Like when we had the starting 11 put out to see, I think it was just a catastrophe waiting to happen. Like Arteta had, big balls really to drop his captain and last year's goal scorer. He is, at the moment, he's Mr. Arsenal for the last 3-4 years, and to drop him, literally, it must have been about an hour before the game because he turned up late, and I think it just shows Arteta he's not messing around, and it could have gone really bad for him yesterday if we did lose or even draw and not have Aubameyang take a part of the game. The backlash for him would have been huge, and even for me, like I'm not saying I'm going to turn into Arteta out at all. I love the guy. I think he needs time, but to drop your captain and literally call him out before the game and say, oh yeah, he's been dropped for disciplinary reasons, but I won't tell you what, but he was actually going to start, but he's done something wrong, so I'm not starting him. It's just like, what the hell is going on? The game's not even started. Like, sort it out after the game. I don't know what you think about that, Liam. Like, dropping your captain before the game, it's absolutely unreal.
It was a big call. I was surprised. To be fair, I was surprised when it come out. But I can understand where he's coming from. I think no one's bigger than the club, any club. No matter what player, no matter what club you're at, you're there as part of a team. So I think if he's, and like he said, it weren't the first time it's happened either. So it's clearly a recurring thing that he's not getting in his head. So if you got to make that call to drop him to try and get through the message that your slackness isn't going to be taken here, then I think he made the right decision. What were your thoughts with that, Josh? Obviously, before the start of the game, and you see that Aubameyang's been dropped, I bet you were licking your lips at first.
A lot of Spurs fans would say, yeah, but for me personally, I always every time Lacazette's played against us, he's always scored. He's always turned up. No matter if he hasn't played for 5-6 games, he always bags a goal. And obviously, yeah, Aubameyang hasn't really had a sniff a few times against us in the last year, for example. But it's no different, really. I did look at their side as the lineups come out, and I did think, obviously, no Pepe was a big one for me personally. I thought that's an exploitation you could have got at us, really, with the form he's been in recently. But yeah, obviously, your lineup was a bit weaker than your strongest one, and I think that, like you said, Arteta was right to make that call as a player yourself. Like, you do wish, like your big players are always in the team, but at the same time, you know what I mean? Like you said, no one's bigger than the club, and you've got to make a standpoint. Otherwise, you're gonna lose the dressing room at times, and people are just gonna take things for granted.
Yeah, it'd be different. It'd be interesting to see how it pans out now. You know, does he go straight back in, or is it going to be like a couple of weeks suspension from the first team? But you know, dropping your captain, and you know what Aubameyang's like. The geezer absolutely loves himself, so that would have hurt a lot yesterday, and especially because we won. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays a part on Thursday and ready for West Ham. But we'll get into the game. First 10 minutes, I was quite, I turned around to my old man. I said, I think we've got it today. I just see the way that Tottenham was sitting back. And I don't know, this is why we've got you on the show today, Josh, really. Like, is this something that's happening all the time with Tottenham? Because the first 10 minutes for me, Bale, Kane and Son, before obviously he got injured, they just looked so tired and bored. They didn't look like they actually had a plan of attack. Like, whether it was like, it looked to me that Mourinho had said, first 10 minutes, just sit back, let them have the ball, and if we can counter, which is what happened when you beat us 2-0 in the first game of the season.
Yeah, I think this is the problem really with Spurs fans at the moment. I was saying to you yesterday, Ash, that if we lose, it's Mourinho's fault. If we win, the players have been magic. Do you know what I mean? He never gets the praise he deserves at the right times. And I feel we didn't really expect you to come out that sharp and that fast. You was on the press, you pressed us quite high. And I feel that it was never his intentions for him to say to sit back. We played our most attacking team that we've been playing the last 3-4 weeks. I don't think it's Mourinho's choice to say, right, sit back. I think we wasn't expecting you to come out that quick and be that confident, which you was. And I just think, like, yeah, I think the occasion kind of got to us. Bale went missing a little bit. And I think as soon as Son got injured, everyone was kind of like, oh, here we go. It's one of those days, you know what I mean? It's just not going to be our day today. And I said that in the first 6-7 minutes. I said that you had that feeling about it that we weren't really up for it. We wasn't really ready. And we kind of thought it would be an easy game, just like you said, due to the points difference and where we were on the table and the form we've been in. We thought we'll just roll up and we'll just go through the motions and then you'll get a result out of it. And I think the main problem was, like, your likes of Højbjerg and Ndombele, they went missing. They wasn't really showing any intent and bravery to go and get the ball like they used to, or that they normally do. So then it's putting more pressure on the likes of Sanchez and Alderweireld at the back, who were like sitting there at times like, what do you want me to do with it? And then we was forcing it long, and that's obviously when the injury come about. And it just seemed like we wasn't expecting you to come out that quick, and then we didn't know really how to react to it. Because obviously in recent weeks we haven't been that bit where we've been sitting back and not having the ball. In times we've been dominating possession and creating chances, and like, yeah, I just think that you wanted it more than us at the end.
Do you think it might be a matter of like trust in Mourinho with the team? Like, I know you obviously the last couple of weeks, like you said, you've been playing, really attacking and bright football, but I'm not saying it's against lower league teams. It is, and they're teams that Arsenal play, and we can't even finish off like Burnley. But do you think maybe because it was a big game that you thought maybe he's held back a bit with the attack, or maybe the players weren't as confident to go to the Emirates and play like they did against Palace last week?
No, I don't agree with that. I think if he went there to defend like he has done against the likes of Liverpool and City, he would have dropped Bale. He would have played that Bergwijn instead, who works hard and he's better defensively. He would have played Sissoko along Højbjerg like he normally doesn't play it, and Ndombele in the 10. But no, he decided to go with basically 4 attacking players and just say, right, we'll do what we have done the last few weeks, and it's worked. I don't think we as a collective, as a team, really was up for it, to be honest. Like I said, the 2 midfielders who you rely on to dictate play, to get the ball and make something happen, to let them front 4 express themselves, they couldn't. And obviously Moura was the only one who seemed like he actually cared and was trying to make something happen, having to come deep, especially in the latter parts of the game when we got someone sent off. We was then like, all right, let's decide to turn up, shall we? Like, why have we not done that beforehand? Do you know what I mean? It was like, we've got nothing to lose now because we're 2-1 down, we've got 10 men, which we should have done straight from the off. Do you know what I mean? If you go and score an early goal or 2 early goals that we normally do, you've then got something to work on and to go at again. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think maybe, not necessarily Mourinho, but the Spurs players, do you think they maybe underestimated the attacking intent and the way that Arsenal ended up playing? Because like you say, you went with quite a forward-heavy formation and maybe didn't cover those defensive positions as well as what you could have. Like you say, we're playing Højbjerg and Sissoko alongside each other to cover your central defence. Do you think maybe they went into the game and didn't really expect Arsenal to come out the way that they did?
Yeah, I think like from parts of the game that I started watching early on, it was as if, because you pressed quite high and you locked on early, we couldn't really get into pockets to break out or break the lines to then get a counter on. And then obviously out of possession, the transition of your left-hand side, which is always going to trouble us the way Tierney bombs on. Bale wasn't tracking his runners. He wasn't helping out Doherty, which personally Doherty's not a great defender anyway, in a 1v1 situation, let alone a 2v1 situation. So Bale not helping him out there doesn't do any justice for the team, and that's obviously where the first goal come from. But you could see a mile off that was going to be a problem. And obviously Smith Rowe was running in behind Doherty and taking Højbjerg out of the equation, and then it was just a disaster around that whole right-hand side. And no wonder Bale got dragged off and he wasn't getting into the game because he was just getting absolutely overrun on that right-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got the first goal with Lamela's Rabona, which you can't take away from him. It was, and the best part for me was Reguilón's first time cross. Like, Tierney does that quite a lot as well, but I think that the minute your wing backs can cross that ball first time, half volley or on the volley, your defence is in trouble big time. But yeah, for me, it started with the cross from Reguilón into I think it got a deflection, but Lamela dealt with it, and you look, cheeky Rabona in the far corner, no keeper is saving that. 1-0 up. What you thinking then, Josh? Thinking maybe the times have changed, you've got a little bit of fortune, and here we go.
Partially, yeah. Obviously, the goal was incredible, to be honest. It was quite rude of him to even try that, especially at the Emirates. Do you know what I mean? But I sat there and I thought we don't deserve that. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously as the game was kind of getting on, you're thinking, right, just get into half time. We haven't played well. Let Jose give a few bollockings and kind of see how they come out. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, you could see it was coming from early on that you knew that, like I said before, I didn't feel like it was our day. I don't think we turned up, and you kind of sitting there like, bloody hell, how have we got a goal out of this already? And then obviously it's been a common theme this season, really, switching off, no lack of concentration the last 5 minutes of the second half, or even obviously later on in the game, it's shown against the lesser teams that we've dropped points from just lack of concentration. But yeah, you kind of always felt that it was going to come. And I said, after the first 20 minutes to my granddad, I said, we're going to give it a pen today. You'll see there was a lot of players that would just kind of go into, like, make a tackle and then kind of bottling it at the last second because they knew they was going to give away a foul. And you kind of just felt that the longer that we stayed ahead, the more confident we'd get. And then obviously that just before half time was a killer, to be honest.
I think, yeah, like you were saying about you saying to your granddad about you luckily going to give away a penalty. I think that was one of the main things that Tottenham probably went into the game expecting, that North London derby that you usually get, where it's, everyone's full contact, everyone's trying to win the ball off one another. And I think Arsenal let you guys sort of play into that with that being overly physical maybe at times and trying to dictate the play. And I think Arsenal, like they kind of read that early on and allowed you to do it. There was that incident with Kane on Gabriel, where he just absolutely, he wipes him out of the way, and he doesn't even get looked at. But I think that just shows you the prime example of how Spurs went into that maybe a bit more thinking, like, this is a North London derby, we've got to let them know we're there straight away. And Arsenal thought, okay, we'll let you do that, and we'll catch you, with a few yellows, and then eventually the red for Lamela. But I think it was a strange one. I like you say, the Lamela freak goal. I didn't expect it. I don't think it's not even the best Rabona he scored in his career. I think that's even one of the funnier points of it. But I think fair play to Arsenal. They come out and they did the job that they had to do.
Yeah, definitely. With the goal, on the right side. I'm interested to know, do you think Mourinho was wrong in playing Bale yesterday? Maybe like he knew that he'd get Kieran Tierney on the left side, and whether it be Aubameyang playing or Smith Rowe, there's loads of energy down that left-hand side. And as you said, like Doherty's not, the greatest defender. He has got a fair few faults going about him this season. But do you think maybe he was wrong to start Bale, and maybe he should have started that Bergwijn because he's got more energy to track back? Maybe that would have stopped the first goal for us.
It's a lose-lose, really. He starts Bergwijn. Everyone's saying, why not starting Bale? The form he's in, the goal he's been scoring, how well he's been playing, the confidence, he's got that swagger back. If you don't start him, everyone's saying, oh, Jose, blah, blah. And say if the results say the same. The reason we lost because you didn't start Bale. And everyone's moaned when Bergwijn's played that he hasn't got any quality on the ball. He does start him, and then you lose that defensive nous or that work rate. So it's a lose-lose, but I don't think he was wrong in the team he started. Obviously, personally, I would have preferred Aurier to play, but him just coming back from injury and playing midweek, it was always going to be a struggle. But I don't think he made the wrong decision, to be honest, because, like I said, if it's not broken, why fix it? And it wasn't broken. I know we said we're playing lesser teams, but if we're scoring the goals and we're playing well, why revert back to that formation or them two players coming in to be defense, worrying about the team who's lower than us? I know it's a derby, but you're worrying about someone who's not really having a good season, and then you're trying to be defensive minded. Do you know what I mean? If you go at them and attack like we should have done, we might get a result out of it. But if you go and invite pressure, then it was always going to be a case of you were going to concede. So I think he was spot on with his starting 11, to be honest.
There you go. Heard it here first from Josh Downs. He was right to start Bale. Fair enough. I mean, the goal came at an ideal time for Arsenal, really, right on the half-time mark. So with Odegaard's strike going into 1-1, I was quite confident, but I knew that there was going to be a stage of the second half where Tottenham were going to come at us again for a good 15-minute spell. But the second half started and it never really came. Like, I was just watching the highlights this morning, and I didn't. Apart from obviously the right at the end with Kane's free kick, we hit in the post, which we'll get onto. I don't remember Leno having to make any drastic saves. And it's nice to see Arsenal not pass the ball out from the back and give away a goal for the first time in God knows when. But yeah, I was quietly confident at half time that we were going to, potentially win 3-1, 2-1. I don't know about you, Liam, from a neutral perspective.
Yeah, I think it's if any team, if you nick a goal at half time, you're going in and the opposing team's going to have their heads down, because you think to yourself, if you can hold on for those last few couple of minutes of the first half with a lead, you can go into the second half with a lot more confidence. And obviously, yeah, you nicking that goal on, was it the 41st minute or something? It completely changes the dynamic and the mindset of the players, because obviously Spurs players, their head's going to go down. They're thinking, right, we've got another mountain to climb here to try and come back. And Arsenal players are going to be thinking, right, this is it now. We've got our foot back in the game. Let's try and push on from here and nick another one. And it was, the chances that were coming. I think Cedric really impressed me. I thought he was played really well yesterday. Obviously, he hit the post fairly early on, but at right back, it was a complete contrast from Doherty, and I think Doherty at Spurs is struggling, having to go from that sort of three at the back, five at the back formation with Wolves to having to play, as a conventional right back for Spurs, and he's clearly struggling with that adaptation. I don't know what you think about that, Josh. What were you saying about Aurier there a minute ago? But do you think Doherty's maybe at a loss there, having to play in this sort of more formal right back position?
I'll be as nice as I can. When we signed him, I said to everyone that was saying, oh yeah, he was at Wolves, he played this, he was like that, he scored goals. Yeah, but he wasn't better than what we had. I've stuck by Aurier since day one. I thought under Mourinho it'll become better because he's got someone who can drill into him how to defend and not make mistakes. And this season it has been better. But with Doherty, he was playing as a wing back, and the reason he looked so good is because he had 3 centre-halves behind him. He didn't have to defend too much. He was playing almost as a right winger at times. And the way that Wolves were playing was they were dominating possession and playing so attacking minded that he didn't, like I said, he didn't have to defend really. And him playing as a conventional right back, you can see that he's good in the air, but he's not really got anything about him or presence. He doesn't look confident either, and he was highlighted for being good in the final third the last time when he was at Wolves, and that's what he's lacked for us. Every time he's got in the final third, you're like, right, just put a decent ball in a good area, and even then he's not beating the first man, and you're like, as a fullback, that's what you want. If you can't defend, at least be good going forward. Which nowadays, that's basically what you're asking for. A lot of fullbacks can't defend, but they're really good in the final third. Kyle Walker, for example, was like that with Spurs. He couldn't defend, but he was so good going forward that you kind of, and so quick, he'd get out of his own troubles. But Doherty's not quick enough to even get out of them troubles. So it is a bit of a loss. And he's even said himself, you think he's tweeted last night that he said that it's not been a great season for him and he needs to kind of get things going again. But yeah, a lot of Spurs fans agree that he's not better than Aurier, and every time he plays, you're kind of waiting for something to happen. Do you know what I mean?
It's strange to see. Like I will admit, I did watch the Tottenham documentary on Amazon Prime, and there was a game where he was playing against Wolves. I don't know if you've seen it, Josh, but where Mourinho specifically calls out Doherty on the opposing team and said like this. He's warning all of the team starting, saying like this is the right back. His name's Doherty. He's an unreal footballer. Like you can't even repeat. He was effing and blinding about how good he was. He's then signed him, and my initial reaction when he signed him, I was like, "Oh, great! Like he's literally just signed the player that he was singing his praises like last year." And then like it's now this total contrast. You know, he had a couple of months where he was struggling to get in the team, but yeah, I mean, Aurier is a funny one. I think he just blows hot and cold, but I think he offers you a lot more in the final third for a right back.
Yeah, like a lot of people will slate him, and if you watch football enough, you'll know that. And even the stats sometimes he's not giving away too. I know he gave away a few penalties and he's been sent off and whatnot, but everyone just remembers that. No one remembers the good games he's had where he's marked Sterling and Mane out of the game and he hasn't given away any fouls, and you know what I mean. But like I said about Docky, that game where he was getting so much praise, he was obviously they were confident, and you know what I mean. When you get that momentum of playing well as a team and that collective, you do look good. And then when you go to a completely new team that doesn't play that style, no one knows how you play, you're not playing a position that you used to play in, you then kind of have to go back to basics and try and learn a completely new style or change your own game. And that's where obviously, like I said, he's been at fault because he has been playing as a conventional right back rather than as a wing back. But at the times where we have played him as a wing back, or we've given him the license to play high and we've dropped the midfielder in to kind of make a free at the back at times, he's still not impressed. He's still not putting great balls in. The only good game I think I've seen him play this season was the other week in Europe when we won 4-0, whatever, and him and Bale had an outstanding game on that right hand side. But who were they playing? Do you know what I mean? They weren't playing anyone that was any good. But after that game, we might give him that bit of confidence to try and go again. But then, obviously, he hasn't really proven himself since.
Well, that win for Arsenal, it leaves you, Arsenal 4 points off of Spurs now. Spurs in 7th, Arsenal in 10th. So with that result, how do you see the rest of this season going now? Could you, Ash, reckon me see a push from Arsenal and end up finishing above Spurs? Or do you think both sides are going to still carry on maybe in the same form as before?
Yeah, I think Arsenal, we've turned the corner, but how big or small that corner is, I think we'll find out against West Ham. We've already got, 1 foot into the quarterfinals. We've beaten Olympiacos 3-1, but we've got West Ham away, and then we've got Liverpool at home. So it's going to be a difficult one. A lot of, obviously, I've got a fair few Arsenal fans on Twitter, and they're saying, I think we can, beat West Ham, and if we can get a draw against Liverpool, that would be a good result. But for me, if we're going to finish above Tottenham, we've got 10 games left, and we need to win at least 8 of those. So our problem is, look, we can actually turn up against the bigger sides this year. We've beat Chelsea at home, and then we've just beat Tottenham, and then we've turned up at Man United away, and then we've turned up at home against them. It's just difficult. And then we go prove ourselves right in those games, and then we have Aston Villa at home and we go lose 3-1, or we go Burnley, hit the post like 3 times and draw 1-1. I know VAR has had a part to play, but you can't use that as an excuse. Every team has had VAR go against them or go for them, equal amount of times really. But for me, I just don't think we're going to finish above Spurs this year. I'd absolutely love it, don't get me wrong, but I just think we've got 10 games left. We need to win at least 8 of those, and I just don't think we've turned the corner enough to warrant to finish above Spurs yet. But we need to finish in the top 7. I think that's definitely on if we can beat West Ham on Sunday.
That's fair enough. What do you reckon, Josh? Do you think this defeat for Spurs is going to have a bit of a sore impact on the rest of your season, or do you think this is just going to be brushed under the carpet and carry on with the next games?
I'd like to think that we kind of brush it under the carpet and kind of go again, because like I said, it's just a bump in the road. Everyone kind of has, and you see that we can bounce back after it. Obviously, it was a big game to lose. Not only was it the North London derby and whatnot, but it was also a huge opportunity to close the gap into the top four. And I think we've been only 2 points off, I think, Chelsea or whatever it is. But it would have been huge for us to win that game and get those 3 points, which is gutting because we're still stuck in seventh. And I know that gap between Arsenal has got shorter, but I don't think that we'll struggle really. I think we'll kind of pick it back up again and we'll just go again. I don't think we've got too many difficult fixtures left. But yeah, I'm hoping that it's just a bump in the road and we'll pick up again. I kind of don't want to look into it and think that it's gonna determine our season. We're gonna go on a bad run again like we have around Christmas time. So yeah, we should be fine.
Difficult one. I don't want to miss the main talking point of the penalty.
No, go on. You can.
What do you think, Josh? Was it a penalty? Was it not? Jermaine Genius seems to think that it was, definitely not. But that's Jermaine Genius for you. So, what do you think, Josh?
I was thinking about this last night, and as a defender for most of my playing career myself, it's a hard one. I can see why it's given, but at the same time, I can see why you're appealing that it's not been given. I'll start on the why I disagree with it being a penalty. Obviously, he's gone for the shot and he shanked the ball, and he's then followed through and actually kicked Sanchez. All right, Sanchez shouldn't have dived in and has kind of made the referee's mind up, but he hasn't affected the ball. He hasn't affected any phase of play. Regardless if he touched him or not, the ball was going out and Lacazette was going on the floor. So it's kind of a pointless kind of foul. It hasn't really affected anything. You know what I mean? If he doesn't give it, no one says anything really because he shanked the ball and whatnot. If the referee goes and looks at his monitor, he would have seen after 20 seconds looking at it, he could have maybe seen that point. But at the same time, there's no need to dive in. He's kind of made his mind up for the referee, and it's a silly one to make. But I think personally, I don't think many people would have seen that as a foul. Everyone looked like he's either blocked the shot, and then when you see it in slow motion, you see, all right, he's just shanked the ball, and that's it. He's going for a goal kick, and then he's given a penalty. And like I said, you can see why it's been given, but at the same time, as a defender myself, you're going to appeal it. It's one of those ones. If an Arsenal defender made the tackle, you're going to say the same point that I've just made. Do you know what I mean? If it's for your team, you're going to want the penalty. If it's against your team, you're not going to want the penalty. That's just my personal opinion. Obviously, you might see it differently, but
yeah, it's a difficult one. Like, you can see both ends of the argument. Like, for me, I think of just how rash that he went into the challenge was like. I think the referee kind of looked at it as if to say, like, Jesus, mate, what you doing? Like, that's a penalty all day long. But if you look behind slow motion and, like, yes, the ball was going all out of play, like Lacazette didn't control the ball properly and his chance was gone. Like, Mourinho seems to think because the ball was, going out of play, like, there was no play in the game, so it shouldn't have been a foul. But I did see someone tweet that if that was in the middle of the field and the game was still going, it would be a foul. And it would be. But if the ball was going out of play and, there was nothing going on, then you could argue that it shouldn't have been a foul. But for me, the way he went in there, so rash, I think and the way he put his hands up straight away, for me, that Sanchez knew straight away it was going to be called a penalty. But you can see it on the other side of maybe it was a bit rash from the referee, but it did go to VAR in the end. And obviously it was given as a penalty, which Lacazette coolly finished off. I don't know what you think, Liam. Obviously you don't support either team, Spurs or Arsenal, but what do you think?
It's one of them ones. It is a soft one to give. Like Josh said, I can understand why it's been given. But it is a very soft sort of penalty to be awarded. I think if Lacazette doesn't scuff his shot there and he actually connects with that, the likelihood is that the way that Sanchez went in with that challenge, he probably gets something on the ball that looks like an amazing challenge. But the fact that Lacazette's shot was so poor, and then you just see the ball just fly off the outside of his foot, and then, like you say, the way that Sanchez comes in, it makes it look so much worse than it probably is. So I can understand why the ref would give it, but it is very soft. And I think if you're a Spurs fan, you're going to be frustrated with that. If you're an Arsenal fan, you're probably going to just be sat there a bit like, hands up there, like just probably not want to talk about it too much, because at the end of the day, you've won the penalty, but maybe the circumstances weren't quite as rewarding as what you initially thought.
Yeah, it's all swings and roundabouts. You need to take it back to Arsenal versus Burnley. Like last week, we should have had a Stonewall penalty, and now this week, Arsenal fans aren't complaining because initially a bad decision has gone our way. But There's been loads of situations like that for Tottenham with, when he was at Craven Cottage against Fulham, could have argued it should have stood, but it will keep on happening until the fine details of VAR and refereeing decisions are being ironed out, which me and Liam talk about every week. It's just it's a pain to talk about, but we had to talk about it, definitely.
Yeah, it's become one of those parts of football now, isn't it? VAR, like, you're not going to get rid of it, so we might as well sit here and add it as part of your discussion of the weekend's games, because it's part of football now, as you say, and it's just a case of officials learning how to work it properly, how to use it to its most effective ability, and that just comes with time. But one big other point from the game, obviously, was that free kick in the last few minutes, and where Kane hits the post, and you got that big Brazilian Gabriel on the not on the line, but I mean, he definitely saves the game for you there. What was your thoughts when that free kick hit the post, Ash?
Well, I had to go change my pants straight away after, mate. Jesus Christ, mate. I thought when he lined up for it, I thought it's a bit of a weird angle, but it's a bit similar to one he scored at White Hart Lane like years ago when it was 2-2. But obviously it's a sitting ball, and I thought the way he strikes it, it's got to be pitch perfect, and I was just sitting there waiting for it to hit the back of the net. But he'd done the keeper all day long, going the other side of the goal. No keeper in the world would have saved that. And look, you need a bit of luck to win, especially in the North London derby. So I take it. But I definitely want to ask Josh from a Tottenham fan perspective about Harry Kane. What was you thinking when that free kick obviously hit the post and then off the line essentially by Gabriel?
Kind of just summed up the whole afternoon for us, really. Like I said, you kind of knew that it weren't our day early on, and it's hit the post and you go, it ain't our day. And then obviously Sanchez scuffs it, and then you get a block in, and you're like, if he kicks it anywhere else other than at him, it goes in. And then after the game, everyone's going, we didn't play well, but we got a point. Arsenal this, Arsenal that. Do you know what I mean? But then obviously it's just one of those ones, isn't it? It like weren't our day. Yeah, gutting as it was, to be fair, you thought just nick it in the last minute. Do you know what I mean? Keep all the Arsenal fans quiet. Put my phone on mute as soon as we missed it. I was just like, no, I'm not having this.
I did have a little scroll on Twitter at half time, and it was reactions to Lamela's goal. I was just thinking, oh my God, imagine if we win this now. And we did. So, yeah, it's a good North London derby. I think it had everything in the game, and obviously the red card as well. Like, Lamela came on, he didn't start. He came on for obviously an injured Son, unfortunately, that he done his hamstring, but you could tell either Mourinho said in his ear, or he's just thought he's woken up, and if I play today, I'm going to wind everyone up. He had David Luiz on the go, he had Xhaka on the go, he had Tierney on the go, and then he had stupid booking, the first one where he just swiped his leg. He didn't need to bring his leg round. And then obviously raising his hand, you could say Kieran Tierney went down way too easy. He did, but it's the 21st century. You can't have your hands swinging around like that. I don't know what you think about that, Josh.
Yeah, like I'll defend Lamela to the day he stops playing for us. Like I love him to bits, because I'd rather have someone like that in my team. He works hard. You're going to get 100% out of him. All right, he likes to tackle, but who doesn't? He's just got that about him, and he's just one of those feisty characters. I always back him when he comes on to get booked. But yeah, that literally game sums him up. He'll play well, be energetic, he'll win the ball back, and then he'll score. He'll do something magical out of nowhere, and everyone's like, "Why have we not seen this before?" And then he goes and does something stupid. Do you know what I mean? It's just the way he is. But I love him in my team, to be honest.
Fair enough. I mean,
just because you've got Salah, mate, don't rub it in.
Lamela's one of them players. He reacts on emotion, doesn't he? And I think he's got so much invested in the game that he takes everything so personally. And I think that's maybe one of his down. It's an upfall, but it's a downfall at the same time. And it's an upfall when he scores a Rabona, and it's a downfall when he gets a red card. So he's just hit and miss at times, but. Yeah, we've got Salah, so I'm all right. I'm sitting pretty, even though we're down in 8th. It's not really sitting pretty, but
it's all right. You've got a Champions League and a Barclays Premier League trophy on your shoulder, mate. So it's all good for a while, I think.
I can handle it. Talking about Liverpool, obviously tonight we've got a lovely bit of Monday night football. Wolves versus Liverpool. From two neutrals, what are your thoughts towards the game? Do you think Liverpool can maybe go on and regain some winning form here, or is it still going to be curtains for them?
I'll let you go, Josh, mate.
I don't know really. It's been a strange one this season. Obviously you've had a lot of injuries and whatnot, and it's kind of been a strange one of why you're not picking up form as much as you'd like to. But yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know what's happened since the start of the year. You've just been losing games at home that you obviously didn't lose for 56, and you've lost 6 on the bounce or something like that. And I don't know what it is. Obviously, you kind of goal scorers and your main men who kind of dig you out of trouble haven't really been at it recently. But yeah, I don't see why. You got to start somewhere, ain't you? You got to start picking up results at some point. And obviously, you had a good result again in the Champions League. So yeah, I think you'll get a result tonight.
Yeah, I think you've turned the corner. I think, and it's at the right time for the season as well. I think tonight, the best thing about you guys is that you've got the Champions League to just keep you ticking over. So yes, you've had a bad result at the weekend, but then you go prove yourselves wrong in the middle of the week against, arguably a better side. But I think if you have to win tonight. If you don't win tonight, I'll be completely shocked. Wolves aren't no pushovers. They are still getting some good results against the top sides. So, but they are there for the taking if you set up right. So I think Klopp's it's got some interesting games coming up for him. I don't know what you think as a fan, but it's a difficult one to call for Klopp. He's got this tricky job on his hands now, which he's not done it himself. There's all the injuries that's going on, but is it time for change in terms of some of the players?
It's a tough one. I think we started, at one point this season, I think back in October, November time, we was top of the league, and then you look now at where we are and how results have gone. Is you just sit there perplexed most of the time. You just don't understand how the downfall has happened so rapidly. There's only so long you can sort of make a case for injuries. Like Van Dijk and Gomez missing, like any team losing out on their 2 first choice defensive, like central defensive partnership, it's going to have an impact. But Joel Matip then getting the injuries that he does, his injury record at the club is awful. So there's only so much you can rely on him as third choice, and then having Fabinho back in midfield, I think was the big game changer against Leipzig, and I think Nat Phillips and Kabak seems to be a partnership that could work for the remainder of the season. So I am optimistic about tonight. I think we've spoke about it before, Ash, how Wolves have managed to handle the absence of Jimenez quite well. Like you said, they're still managing to get results here and there. Maybe not quite the run of form that they'd maybe hoped for, but they have, considering they losing their main number 9, their main goal scorer, they have been playing quite well. But it's a game you can't go into underestimating your opponent, because I think Wolves at the Molineux as well, you can't underestimate them. But it's good to have Jota back. It's good to have Fabinho back in midfield. And yeah, I think if we can push on now and start regaining that form, then it could be a decent end to the season for us. But like you say, the Champions League seems to be this nice little cushion where we can, go off a bad run in the Premier League, but we can sit back and go, all right, well, things will be all right in Europe.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a nice thing to have. Yeah, as you said, like it's a little cushion to go back on, but that cushion, it depends on who you're going to draw in the next round. It could get very, very tricky, and it may not be so much of a cushion. In terms of the Premier League, I'm just looking at the table now. It's so tight. City obviously they've written it off. It's done, but you could argue that United and Leicester City in second and third on 57 and 56 points probably going to stay in second and third unless Leicester drop off a little bit more. I don't think United are going to drop off. I think they've done enough to secure that. But from third all the way down to 10th, you could argue that could change until the end of the season. I don't know what your thoughts are, Josh, but who do you think, just I am putting you on the spot from third to 7th, who's it going to be?
I can't see much changing, to be honest. I don't really know too much of who's got to play who amongst that group. But yeah, they're on the West Ham, and obviously I know they lost last night, but the way they've been playing, they've been setting up really well. And obviously, I know they missed Lingard obviously last night, but I don't know. I just can't see them dropping too many more points. I think they'll finish just outside the Champions League spot. I think obviously the Champions League spots will stay as they are. It's just all up for the grabs, really. Like you said, it depends if we slip off or you carry on your run. You never know what could change, but I think the majority of it will stay as it is. We might jump up one more finish sixth. But yeah, I think it'll pretty much stay as it is.
Decent. Yeah, I mean, that big result for Everton, losing obviously against Burnley, that was quite a shock to see, to be honest. But was it Dwight McNeil's goal? What a goal! What a strike!
Yeah, it's a massive win, Burnley. And Everton, I think Everton will be frustrated. They seem to be similar with us, dropping points against maybe the teams lower in the league. I'm not going to sit here and sing Everton's praises because I still don't really think they're that good. But yeah, that win for Burnley is big for them, especially in regards to the relegation battle. You've seen Sean Dyche do it season by season, just manage to claw it back and keep them in the Prem. I just don't know how much longer he's going to be able to do that, because Burnley have this sort of team where it's a workman-like team. Everyone comes in together as one big unit, and then often you'll get, like you say, with McNeil, he'll probably get picked off by another club soon, and then it just puts them back again. And I just don't see how much further Sean Dyche can maybe take Burnley as a club. I think he's probably maxed out what he can do for them. But big win. I think Brighton's another big one for me. I think Brighton are a really impressive side, and I think for them to finally get those 3 points and against Southampton have had some bad luck of it as of late, but they're still a quality side. And Brighton, I think they thoroughly deserve that, because I do like watching Brighton as a club. I don't know what you maybe think about them, Ash, but I'm a big fan of the Seagulls.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan after Morpay and Leno last year, to be honest, mate. But I'd rather Fulham stay up. I think Scott Parker's doing he's doing big things at Fulham, but I don't think us football fans have realised anything yet. First half against City, they were so compact, and you can see how well drilled Scott Parker's got Fulham. Like, their defence is nailed on, and look, one bit of lack of concentration against City, you know you're going to get punished, right? But it's I think Fulham will stay up. I think they've got enough in the tank to stay up, and I don't think Newcastle will do the job. So I'm going to go for Newcastle to go down with the other two, West Brom and Sheffield United. What do you think, Josh?
I think it's spot on there, mate. To be fair, I think obviously Fulham have been playing well recently. Obviously, I know they've had a few results, and obviously we beat them and whatnot. But I think they'll do enough. They'll challenge the teams in and around them. They'll get a few results. Brighton, they're playing really well. They might not be getting the results, but at least yesterday they got the win. But Newcastle look like they're in big trouble.
Yeah, not looking too good.
No, it's a tough one for the Toon. I think they've got good players in that team, but it's just something. I mean, Steve Bruce isn't the sort of manager I think that they need right now. And yeah, I agree with you as well with that bottom three. I like Fulham. They play decent football. They've got a good side. And they invested well in January as well to sort of make those the right signings that they needed to keep them up, and they've done really well. So yeah, Scott Parker's a great manager. You've got two contenders there maybe for the future England job as well in Scott Parker and Graham Potter. You know, it will be interesting to see how their careers sort of pan out with the job that they're both doing at the two respective clubs at the minute. But yeah, I think the Premier League, like you say, it's definitely opening up now. It's going to have an interesting last sort of 10 games for some people. When City have only got 8 games to play, they've pretty much wrapped up the title, like you say. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see how it runs out, I think.
Definitely, yeah. It's going to be Sky going to be getting their money's worth, put it that way, until the fans are back anyway. Thanks for coming on today, Josh. I've got one last question for a Tottenham fan. Even if you do win the League Cup this year, what do you think Harry Kane will do, and what do you think he should do in terms of leaving or staying?
Waiting for this one to come. As a fan, I think he will stay. Even if we don't win it, I think he'll stay. I don't know. I think he's got that about him now. I think he cemented his legacy as a Spurs player, and I think he wants to go and do big things on a personal level. He wants to score as many goals as he can in the Premier League, and I think he's now, especially being the skipper at times when Lloris is out, I think he just enjoys being that leader, and he wants to take us to that level, and he wants to be the person to go and get us a trophy. And I think if he finishes his career at Spurs and he doesn't win anything, he might look back and go, "Oh, I probably should have done that." But I don't think he'll regret anything. I think he's got that type of player about him where he's want to stay at Spurs, and I think obviously he should stay.
Decent. There you go.
Right, well, that looks like it's all done for today's episode. Thanks to the boys again, obviously Ash and the Arsenal fan and Josh coming on to represent Tottenham. It's been an interesting chat. If you haven't already, make sure you follow us on Spotify if you're listening on there. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like, share and subscribe to the video, and we will catch you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Josh. And for those that don't know, Josh does do a little bit of DJing on the side. So we'll pop his SoundCloud in the description and go check it out. Nice one.